What's up guys, Lvladen here, and today I'm coming at you with a video on the Dragonflight beta. This will be my last beta build update video and also a giveaway courtesy of Blizzard. I'll be giving away 2 North American Heroic Edition copies of the game Dragonflight. You just have to like, subscribe, comment, and let me know in the comments below what class you'll be maining in Dragonflight and why. Alright, let's get into the video. So there are 2 builds that I want to go over before the expansion launches, and pending any tuning that happen in the near future, these 2 builds are going to be my primary builds on my Paladin. Now, I might not be maining Paladin, but I will definitely still be playing Paladin as my primary alt going into Dragonflight. I will be maining my Survival Hunter once again, bringing back the Survival Hunter after the 2 years of being on the shelf during Shadowlands, but yeah, I did want to go over the last red builds. So right here, I am running the Final Verdict build. And this is probably the best Final Verdict build that you can pull out at the moment if you did want to still run Final Verdict. And this is really good against classes like Evokers, which have constant slows and constant slow immunity while applied to. Evokers are everywhere in the arena right now, along with most range classes like Locks, Shadow Priests, and Ellie Shamans. It is going to be a caster-heavy meta early on in the expansion for sure. Now, the point of this build, I actually run Consecrated Blade and Consecrated Ground right here to help remove or reduce my snares while my Consecration goes down. Now, this whole talent row right here on the right, Consecrated Blade, Seal of Wrath, and Expurgation, they're all absolutely trash for damage. So you don't have to worry about not picking Seal of Wrath or Expurgation because you think it does more single target damage. It really does not. Seal of Wrath is like 0.02% of your damage after a game. Expurgation sometimes doesn't proc at all, and it's only 60% of the damage dealt over 6 seconds, which is incredibly nerfed from what it was in Shadowlands. So you're fine taking Consecrated Blade as long as you're not worried about breaking Hunter CC or Teammate CC. And then you, with this build, you don't have to run Just a Cause of Vengeance since you're running Final Verdict. You can if you want, but an easy swap out method for this is if you're against an Evoker or another ranged class, you can go ahead and go Consecrated Ground plus Consecrated Blade and Hallowed Ground for increased slows around the pillars with your Consecration and freedoming yourself with your Hallowed Ground. It's like imagine Emancipate, but it's on a cooldown of 9 seconds. And it doesn't constantly reapply the ticks. So like say you get slowed, you're going to need to reapply your Consecration to get rid of a new slow. And if you're fighting a melee, you just unspec out of Consecrated Ground and drop it for eye for an eye right here. And then if you really don't want Consecrated Blade, you can take Seal of Wrath or Expurgation, whichever one you want to lead you down into Zeal. Now, in terms of damage, the reason I'm not going Vanguard's Momentum is because unless you're going 2 stacks into Vanguard's Momentum, the percent increased damage buff is not that great, and we're not running Zealot's Paragon, so we're not running a Hammer of Wrath-centric build. You can, but just from so much testing on solo queue, it's just not worth it at the moment. I'm also not taking Empyrean Legacy, so you really have the options between Divine Resonance and Empyrean Legacy right here for your big damage talent, your big capstone talent, but it's just not dealing very much damage at all at the moment. Divine Storm, that is, and Divine Resonance benefits from your High Lord's Judgment damage increase, and it is just a constant refresher of your Judgment debuff. So you're getting more empowered Final Verdicts off. Overall, I'd say it's generally better than Empyrean Legacy. And I'm not running Execution Sentence with this build, but there are builds that you can get away with Execution Sentence because it's not nerfed in PvP anymore. And then in terms of when I'm going on the left side of the Paladin tree, Seal of Order. Seal of Order just got nerfed a little bit. Well, it will be nerfed when the expansion comes out, but it's still mandatory for sure. I'm kind of between Seraphim or Sanctified Wrath at the moment. I do enjoy both. I think Seraphim is a little bit better with this build because this is kind of a 1-minute burst window go build. I think the meta is definitely not consistent damage right now. So if we're going to worry about consistent damage and cleave, then I'd be rocking Sanctified Wrath. But currently, I don't think Ret has enough consistent damage to get any pressure outside of our 1 minute go or 2 minute go with wings. So we're not going to worry too much about that. That could change going into the future. And then I'm not taking Zealot's Paragon at the moment because you really have to choose between Divine Purpose or Zealot's Paragon. And I think 10% damage in just a few extra seconds on wings is not going to be, well, a 10% Hammer of Wrath or Judgment damage is not going to be the make or break that maybe a potential life-saving Word of Glory or game-ending back-to-back Templar's Verdict might be. Yeah, there's plenty of Ret builds that are going to feel similar and will have similar results. So you guys, just play what you want. You can use mine as a template. I'll show you my other favorite build at the moment. All right, so our next build that we're going to go over is the Justicar Vengeance build, and this, in my opinion, is probably the better of the two builds into most classes. Now, this is not as good into classes that are going to kite you a ton because you're losing the range on Final Verdict, but overall, it's still a very strong build, and this is the best dueling build, in my opinion, as well. You're going to use Justicar's Vengeance, and this is going to be your primary damage dealer. You're just going to take Templar's Verdict and put it somewhere else. You're never going to touch it outside of the situations where you're killing totems or Siphene. So Justicar's Vengeance is bugged still and does not deal damage to totems or Siphene. I do not know why, but you're still going to need your Templar's Verdict on your bar to deal with that circumstance, unfortunately. But when it does get fixed, then you really have no use for Templar's Verdict and can truly remove it from your bar. But this build revolves around the 1 minute go window, and instead of Seraphim, we are taking Execution Sentence. Now, if we took Seraphim in our 1 minute go build, it's going to be too much setup. Between Seraphim and Execution Sentence and Divine Toll and Final Reckoning, your opponent's going to have too much time to react. And the way that I like to run this build is if they don't have a trinket, I'll use Execution Sentence to kill with everything else, or I'll just open with Execution Sentence with no other cooldowns in order to force a defensive, or at least bait a defensive, not force, because a lot of people will just react to Execution Sentence and think it does a lot of damage when it won't really, unless you get this Final Reckoning down. I also take the Sanctified Wrath here for the longer wing duration. And since I'm going to be in melee range hitting with Justicar's Vengeance, it's easier to benefit from the splash damage on Sanctified Wrath, rather than if you were running Final Verdict, the splash damage might not hit. I'm not running Zealot's Paragon. Again, I'm opting for Divine Purpose over Zealot's Paragon. The only time I really ran Zealot's Paragon back in the day was when I was running the Vanguard's Momentum build. And you can mess around with that if you'd like, but in terms of how to set up damage, let's fly down to a dummy right here, and I will show you guys what I mean. Alright, I'm just going to hit the PvP dummy, show you guys how much damage we can actually deal with this build here. So I'm going to get 5 Holy Power, get my Of Dusk and Dawn, or my Blessing of Dawn. I'm going to Wings, Final Reckoning into my... do I even have it on my bar? Nope. Into my Execution Sentence, Divine Toll, and then we just spam out our damaging abilities here. So, let me show you guys. Execution Sentence. I didn't even get an ideal execution sentence, and it hit for 209k. Our Wake of Ashes, single target, 138k. Justicar's Vengeance, 110k. Our Divine Toll, okay, you gotta ignore the Divine Toll damage, but we can look at the single target number, which was also 109k. So we have a bunch of abilities that hit very, very hard single target. Obviously, Execution Sentence, people are going to pop a % damage reduction into it, and it's not going to hit as hard. But reliably in solo queue on the beta, I've been hitting about 100 to 115k Execution Sentence without too much stressing about it. Obviously, you can pound a much harder Execution Sentence if people don't have defensives or aren't paying attention. But in general, you don't actually have to pair up Execution Sentence with these other abilities in order to have this build function. You can honestly just send a mini-go before the Execution Sentence, because when you stun with a Final Reckoning and a Divine Toll, your Justicar's Vengeance is also hitting 50% harder into stuns. You can hit like 150k Justicar Vengeances if you're getting lucky on the crits. It hits very, very, very hard. That's accounting for you have all your buffs, you have your Seal of Order, you have your Aspirations of Divinity, your Trinket procs, you're using double Trinket. You can hit really hard with it. I think overall Rhett's going to have quite a few different builds that are relatively the same in power. So if you guys aren't a fan of mine, it's not the end-all, be-all. You can run other talents and probably succeed with them. This is just what I have been running and what I found best in solo queue. I know one of my friends, who's not online right now, Frumples, was playing some very similar builds, and he was running something like Boundless Judgment for his Divine Tolls that splashed onto the primary target when they had pets around. So that's an interesting mechanic to think about. There's also there's some weird builds out there. I did take Exorcism in one of the builds because you can use this as a pseudo turn evil on gargoyles or lock pets because it stuns them and it's instant cast. So there is probably a situation where Exorcism is viable. And then outside of that, just mess around with it, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think, and don't forget about the giveaway. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know below what you'll be maining in Dragonflight and why. All right, peace.